Hello everybody, and thank you for joining us today. We're very excited to have you for today's webinar. A few housekeeping tips before I hand it over to Bob Saunders, our PSD Board of Director, to introduce our speaker. All questions will be monitored, so please feel free to enter all of your questions in the questions box on the right-hand side of your panel. With that, I'll hand it over to Bob Saunders to introduce our speaker, Bruce Cameron.
Thank you, Sally. Hello and welcome. My name is Bob Saunders, and I'm Vice President of Sales at WISE. I also serve on the PSDA Board of Directors and want to thank you for joining us today. As you're aware, we changed the format of the show last year and rebranded it as P2P Solutions Summit. The change received positive feedback. On the heels of last year's P2P, we interviewed many attendees and exhibitors to identify ways in which we could improve the event. Many of these changes have been put in place and will be on display in a couple weeks in Nashville. Specific to the show floor, one of the feedback points we received was exhibitors need to do a better job in presenting their value proposition or how they differentiate themselves in a crowded market. Certainly isn't unique to manufacturers or suppliers, but it did present an educational opportunity leading up to this year's event and beyond. PSDA is looking for ways to enhance the value of membership for our manufacturers and suppliers, and thus we are excited to welcome you to this educational series. I've known and worked with our speaker, Bruce Cameron of Frontline Marketing, for a number of years, and I'm excited about the content he's going to deliver. He's an expert on this topic and has worked closely with several member companies, including Suncoast Marketing, Hyland Computer Forms, and Printegra. He understands our marketplace and the unique challenges we face. He has solutions that can help us all improve our positioning and increase sales. Before I turn things over to Bruce, I want to thank PERF, Print Education Research Foundation, for their financial support of this educational series. For those who do not know PERF, the Foundation's mission is to provide education and learning opportunities for our segment of the market. This program would not be possible without their support. Thank you. Now I'll turn the webinar over to Bruce Cameron. Bruce?
Good morning, everyone. I'm going to assume that because I can't hear you, that you guys are all sending me nice thoughts and looking forward to a good webinar. Bob, thank you. It's so nice to hear your voice again. It's been too long. And I know I've got some friends out there in the audience, and I thank you for being there as well. I look forward to seeing everybody again in Nashville. But right now, welcome to the Peer-to-Peer Business Branding for Manufacturers. It's interesting that PERF chose this session to sponsor. I was looking, for instance, in your most recent PS Magazine for March, and if you pull yours out and take a look at page 39, you'll notice a graph in there. And this is by Barb Pello, I think. And she says, and there's a graph in there that says, to what extent does your company agree with the following statement? We try to differentiate through customer experience. So I know why you're on this call, because 78% of the respondents to that said that they agree or strongly agree to that question. We try to differentiate through customer experience. And that's what our work is going to be about today in Nashville and then in a webinar following. Now, there's research that says that we wander with distractions about 6 to 8 times a minute. Some of us wander more, and we know who we are. But so I'm going to ask you, you've committed to being here for an hour, so I would really like you to turn your phone over, not pick it up when it dings, close the door, make sure you got your beverage in front of you, and just commit with a silent thumbs up that you're going to try and be here for the full hour. Now, because research tells us that we're going to wander 6 to 8 times, we're going to be thinking about our daughter's soccer game, or what we're going to have for dinner, or what you need to do in the production department, or you know what, I really need to get to my CSRs and talk about what's going on. That's going to happen. Notice when you wander, because what this webinar is all about, and these 3 sessions that we're going to spend together, is focus. It's about focus. The trick that we're going to go through right now is how do we focus on the core of our business so that we can simplify that message so that we can talk to our customers about what it is that we do differently from anybody else. So here's the goal: to create a short, simple message about your business that can easily be used to describe why someone should do business with you. A short, simple message. Because we wander, because we're distracted, we only have a few seconds to talk to that customer or that potential customer about why we are special. Now, to start off, I should give you mine. At Frontline Marketing, we empower businesses by helping them find what it is they do better than anyone else and then promoting it. We empower businesses by helping them find what it is they do better than anyone else and then promoting it. When you come up with your simple message, it's going to do three things. It needs to be true. You need to believe it, and it needs to stimulate additional conversation. Go back to the message on Frontline Marketing. What I'm hoping triggers in your mind is a question about, oh, well, how do you do that? It's that next question, the additional conversation, that allows you then to talk about things that you do differently. Now, coincidentally, the PSDA has a survey that they're going to release right after this webinar. This fits perfectly with what we're trying to do today. That survey is going to be due back the 5th of April, and it's only 4 questions long. But look how it dovetails to what we're going to be talking about. What differentiates your company from the competition? That's our simple question. What's the sweet spot? That's the essential. What's core? What are the strengths, the area where your experts truly excel? What would you say to an attendee wondering why they should come to your booth? And then name 2 to 3 things that your company is either introducing or focused on in the next 18 months. It's that last question, the 2 to 3 things, that allows you to stimulate the next bit of conversation. We don't want to lead with that, we're becoming variable offset printers, we're becoming digital printers, we're going to 3D printing. You don't want to lead with that. That's going to come in the conversation later. All right, so the survey is going to be distributed immediately following this webinar, and you can see there where it's going to be available. I'll talk about this later in the webinar again. So I call it essentialism. What is essential? It's the exploration to the core of your business, who you are, what you stand for, and what you offer that solves customers' problems. Because we know this, right? All customers want is to have their problem solved. You've heard the term, a house has good bones. That's what we're looking for within the business realm. When a house has good bones, it means you can come in, you can knock out walls, you can add paint, you can refurnish, you can change the look of that house, but the structure remains the same. You can do the same with your business. I like this quote from Stephen Covey. The prime condition of success is this: concentrate your energy, thought, and capital upon the business in which you are engaged. Now, I think this is a great quote, but to me, there's something lacking. What it does is it begs the question that we're going to work on today. What is the business in which you are engaged? Hyland Computer Forms, now called HCF, went through this process, and what they did is they discovered what they wanted to focus on. They then applied that across all departments. When I was talking with Steve, he said, Bruce, we learned the power of focus and it made us more productive. We learned the power of focus and it made us more productive. Now, this webinar is about you, so I don't want to spend a lot of time on HCF, but I know if I leave this slide, you're going to continue to have the question going in your mind, well, what was their simplified message? What did they come up with, Bruce? And here it is. They decided after going through the process that what they wanted to focus on was, we make it easy for the customer to do business with us. We make it easy for the customer to do business with us. A simplified message, but then with that message they were able to take it to production. And so the back of the house, and they could say to the production department, okay, how are you making it easy? And they could then focus on, we're reducing errors, we're shipping on time. They could go to the CSRs and they could say, how are you making it easy? And they would come up with a litany of different things that they could do. Well, if somebody calls in for a quote on invoices, we can also say, look ahead and know how to solve their problems, and say it's going to be easier if you also get envelopes from us. That's an example of how they use their simplified message to focus their business. Now, this guy is Ben Saunders. I want to take you away from what you think about every day, because I want you to change your perspective about how you're looking at your business. Ben Saunders and one other gentleman in 2014 decided that what he wanted to do was travel 1,800 miles round trip from the Ross Ice Shelf to the South Pole, 900 miles each way. The last time this was attempted was 1925, and everybody died. So, although the pictures I'm going to show you here are, I think, just amazing and just beautiful photos, the way he describes the trip is like traveling inside a ping pong ball, because for the whole days and months they were out there, they were in constant whiteout conditions, so they couldn't see anything in front of them. There was very few things to take your mind off what you were actually doing. He even said, well, let me show you this one first. They had to carry everything with them. So each of these two men, Ben Saunders and his partner, traveled with a 400-pound sled that they dragged behind them on skis. He would say that the 1,800-mile goal got too large. It was too overwhelming. He said, at times, all I could see was moving one ski binding ahead of another ski binding. I measured my progress in inches. Now, you may be thinking, well, why are you telling us this? This has nothing to do with printing. This has nothing to do with manufacturing. But it does, in that he was not special. He says, I'm not particularly gifted. I'm not genetically freakish in any sense. I'm really absolutely average. In fact, in one of his talks, he said, you know, I went into the gym and I was doing a 5-minute workout on the rowing machine, and 2 minutes in, I said, I can't do this. But what he had to do was determine his purpose, just as you do. He had to discover the strengths that were unique to him. He had to simplify the message to make sure that every choice and decision that he was making was going through a filter of the purpose, so that his energy was focused on achieving that. He had to filter those decisions. Then he had to measure, he had to intervene, and he had to reward that progress. And finally, as we all know, we have to enjoy the process. So, the essential Ben Saunders, here's what he did. His purpose was to break records and live. His strengths, he knew he was very good at focusing, persistent, organized, and goal-oriented. Here's his simple message. I'm particularly good at pulling heavy objects long distances in very cold weather. That's his business. It's not sexy. But it doesn't have to be sexy. It has to have 3 elements to it. It has to be true, and it's obviously true. He has to believe it, as you have to believe yours. And it has to stimulate conversation. Because when he says to somebody, I'm particularly good at pulling heavy objects long distances in cold weather, the next obvious question is, why would you do that? Which allows him to talk about what he does. And then he has to filter it. Every choice he made on that trip to expend energy had to pass through the purpose. I'll give you an example. He gets to the South Pole and he says there's a building there and there's a few people, and they come out and they say, welcome, and would you like a hot shower? How about a cup of coffee and a hot meal? He said, we got to the South Pole, we thanked them for coming out, we turned around and we started back. He had to focus his energy on the purpose. He said, I hadn't sat down in a chair in 3 months. I hadn't, the only time I only changed my underwear 3 times on the whole trip. He said, if I had sat down, if I had had a cup of coffee, if I had had a hot shower, all of those distractions would have moved me from my purpose and we wouldn't have been able to make it. So he stayed focused on his strengths. He measured his progress in inches, just as I told you about moving one ski binding in front of the other. He intervened. They got behind. So they had to then cut their rations in half to help them make the trip. The reward that he did. He said one of the rewards was every 45 minutes we got to follow rather than lead. Remember, he described it as traveling in a ping pong ball. So it was a reward to be able to look at the back of his partner and the sled that he was pulling so that there would be some deviation from that. And then finally he enjoyed the process. As we looked at what we were going to achieve, as we looked at when we were going to achieve our goal, I realized that it was everything along the way. It was the beauty. It was the struggle. It was overcoming the obstacles that was important, not the record. So now to you. It is up to you to choose how to utilize your skills and strengths in such a way that you get the highest return on your investment of time and energy. That's what makes you you. That's your brand. So now we begin. What's the essential part of your business? What are the bones to your business? Now, I want to caution you, I'm not looking for answers such as, well, we want to be profitable, we want to be more productive, and we want to reduce expenses. With respect, you know this. You are leaders in your company. All 3s are mandatory to any business. If you're missing any of them, you're not in business. And I want to remind you of something that you already know. There's really only 3 ways to build a business. You either increase the dollars spent by each customer, you get more customers, or you get current customers to come back more often. Those are the ways that you build your business. What we're going to achieve is we're going to impact all 3 of those positively. We're going to start by identifying the foundation of your business. What is it you stand for? Maybe you'll say, we're trustworthy. We're the fastest. We won't be undersold. What do you stand for? We believe in our people. We're value-centered. By determining what is consistent about your business, you gain a starting place from which to create your message. And then you have the opportunity to communicate that common denominator across all departments. Because not only do we have trouble communicating to our customers or our potential customers about who we are and why they should pick us, because they can go to another company to get labels printed. There's other people that do variable offset printing. There's other people that do digital printing. There's other people that have snap forms. Those are the products. But why is it that you should trust me to solve your problems? We have trouble communicating it to them, but we also have trouble communicating it consistently across our business. And I'm a firm believer that businesses are built of and by people. And the people that you've surrounded yourselves with have strengths. And you've selected them, and although those strengths are different, there's going to be a common denominator of the people that comprise that business. And I believe in strengths being more powerful than weaknesses. And that's where all of us focus our time. We don't focus them on our weaknesses because weaknesses are no fun. Where we spend our time is developing our strengths, and I believe that that is where we should spend our time. So, this is part of what Sally sent you earlier this morning. We're not going to get to have all of these answers today on this webinar, but we can start, and this becomes your homework. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, there is homework. So let's start with this question. What would you tell a friend about your company if they were about to start working there? Those of you that are wandering, come back. Just notice that you wandered. Come on back. What would you tell a friend about your company if they were starting to work there? Would you say, we're a lot of fun? Would you say, we are aggressive? We charge the hill, take no prisoners. We will win at any cost. Would you say, we're collaborators? We're team players? How would you describe to a friend your company? And what's the one thing that you would most like to change about your company? It's this thing that when you're getting momentum behind you, when you're making sales, when you're having fun, it's this thing that you would like to change about your company that sticks you in the mud and makes you take a step back. What is the one thing that's holding you up? Because although I believe in focusing on our strengths, it's this thing that slows us down. What's the one thing that you'd like to change about your company? Only by being honest with yourselves are you going to be able to simplify your message and make it something that is true for everybody in your organization. Hey, now find the hero in your company. And I know there's more than one. But who comes to mind when I ask this question? Who is a hero in your company and why? Why do you look to them? Why do people gravitate to them? What is it about them that pulls people in? What is it about them that you trust? And honestly, in any superhero movie that you watch, people gravitate to that person because of their strengths. It's not their superhuman power, really. It's something about them that you like to be around. And in them, you're going to start to identify some of the strengths that you've got in your business. What is your favorite characteristic present in your company? Your favorite characteristic? Well, maybe it's that we celebrate all of our birthdays. Everybody gets a card on their birthday. Maybe it's we have bagels every Wednesday. I don't know what the favorite characteristic is. You know, we celebrate every time somebody makes a sale. We celebrate every holiday. We collaborate. What is a favorite characteristic? You know, a leader always tells us what to do, and we do what we're told. I don't know what your favorite characteristic about your company is, but it's important to you. And finally, what kinds of people fail in your company? Who is not a good match? What are the characteristics of that person? Nothing against the person, obviously, but isn't a good fit for you. Because identifying the people that don't contribute to the growth of the business that you've formed and you're part of will tell you more about the people that are there. Hopefully you've got a pad of paper in front of you and you're jotting some notes down as we're going through this. I realize, and I really encourage you, because you've decided to join this webinar and these 3 sessions that we're having, that you will do the homework and that you will put down your thoughts on this, because this is how to get there. Words have power. Thoughts are words that have just not been expressed yet. Think of 4 words that describe your company. I've given you a few here, but it's by no means the full list of descriptive words that you might use to describe your company. Because we're going to get to those words that best exemplify who you are. We're enthusiastic. We're fair. I'm working with a company now that as we went through this process, that's what they arrived at. We're fair. We're honest. We have more experience than anybody else. We're grateful. We're optimistic. There's no problem that we can't meet and overcome. We're persistent. We're creative. We're trustworthy. Be careful of the word service. Although it's a very powerful word, I don't want you coming out of these sessions and saying, well, what we decided was that we're a service-minded company. Because if I let you off the hook and let you say that, you'll never dig deeper and find out what is the service that you provide. Because all of us are service-minded companies. Find more. What is the service that you provide? Why are you a service-minded company? We've got to figure out what the culture is in your company. What feels good about where you work? The culture of a business is brought about by the people that work there and the leadership of that business. Businesses are simply groups of people making a widget. The culture reflects the beliefs, the values, and the behaviors of that company. What are the beliefs, the values, and the behaviors of the place where you work? Here's some examples. Salesforce, you would know. They stress collaboration in real time between employees. So regardless of where their employees are across the world, they can discuss what they're working on in real time. They can reach out and touch anybody within the company at any time. Wegmans supermarkets, some of you are probably familiar with them. They are a supermarket chain in the Northeast. What they do, their culture, is they invest heavily in training, and they won't open a store until everyone is fully trained. That is their stake in the ground. That is the point that they won't cross. Their focus, again, is on service, but the service that the way they dig deeper into the service is in the training and making sure that they won't open the store until everyone is trained. I'm currently working with a business now. They hire somebody and they put them on the line immediately. Very little training. This is a difference. Wegmans I'm not criticizing them, but that is not their culture. Google. They focus on accessibility to top management. So they want to make sure that anybody within Google can get to the top management and have a conversation, share their ideas with them. Apple, theirs is innovation and creativity. No surprise there. And no surprise, they're not the low price leader. That is their culture. They believe we're the most innovative, we are the most creative, and therefore we are worth it. Let's take culture in a different way. Here's some business statements from people about the culture of where they work. Progressive Insurance is in a constant state of change and improvement. Notice the words they're using. Constant, change, improvement. Is extremely transparent and promotes a sincere customer service culture. As you go through these statements, look at the words that they're using, the same kind of thing that I'm asking you to do. Pick the words that give your business the power. Procter & Gamble gives fantastic training and truly wants you to succeed as an individual. Notice what they're saying. Here's what we focus on. Here's our simple statement. We want you as an individual to succeed. The culture in the plant is very positive, and I feel like everyone wants to help one another, collaborative, but all focused on the individual. Top leaders show by decisions and actions that they believe in the top value of integrity without compromise. That's into it. Integrity without compromise. That's their simple statement. Integrity without compromise. Chick-fil-A, you're all familiar with them. A great foundation in Christian values. Chick-fil-A has been able, against the odds of other people within that industry, and maybe even yourselves as you think about it, to be closed on Sunday because they believe that is a time that people should be in church and with their families. Great foundation in Christian values. So everything that they do, all the people that they hire, they talk about Christian values with them. CDW, the people. They really want to help you. The culture truly promotes the coworker, and you do have a say in a large company. I pass, on my way to a client, I often pass a CDW plant, and they have a huge LED screen that they have out by the road, and every day there are different people, their names, their first and their last names, because they celebrate that person for whatever it is, for being the best person of the month, or for whatever it is they have values for within their company, whatever their measurement, whatever their intervention, and whatever their reward, putting that person's name out where everybody that's passing by that screen can see it is part of their reward structure. It's the people, the people. That's what they focus on. I'm a huge believer in gratitude, that we have to appreciate what we have. If we don't appreciate what we have now, we can't give it to others. And that's just as important in business as it is within your personal lives. Because we spend so much time in our businesses, we have to learn what it is we're grateful for. It's not a mamby-pamby thing. Being thankful, being appreciative, focuses us in the now. It focuses us on the process. By acknowledging what it is we like and what we appreciate about our day-to-day interactions, we're able to define what we're good at and then what we can give to others. When we're grateful that leadership always says, top management always says hello every time they come into the office, when we're grateful for that recognition, for instance, then we're able to realize that that's important to us. And we are then able to go and say hello to everybody within our department before we start our day. That's the way gratitude works. So, what do you appreciate about your business? I want you to list at least 4 things that you appreciate about your business. And of course, that it provides a paycheck is not off the table. I am grateful for that as well. But what are the things that you're grateful about your business? When we realize what we're grateful about, it becomes part of our bones. It becomes part of our structure. It allows us to give away what we already have to somebody else. I'm waiting because I know some of you have wandered, and I want you to come back, and I want you to list 4 things that you appreciate about your business. So let's see where we are. What do you stand for as a company? If you didn't answer it initially, do it now. Where is the line that you will not cross? Where's the line you will not cross? We are a company of integrity. We will not, charge more than 10% markup. I don't know what yours is. I just want to give you an example to get you thinking about what it is that you stand for. Wegmans said, we will not open a supermarket until everybody in that supermarket is fully trained. That's what they said. What do you stand for as a company? Google said, we insist that everybody have access to top management because we've all worked in bureaucratic companies before and we didn't like the layers. We felt it stifled the creativity. That's what they stand for. Where's the strength of your company? The positive attributes that stand out. Remember the hero? Who comes to your mind? And it can be you. What is it that you really like about that person? How is your business important? What are some positive words that describe your business? We're enthusiastic. We're trustworthy. All of our customers trust us. We have integrity. We're fun. We have picnics. We celebrate everybody's birthday. We have experience. If you add up everybody that calls on you, we have over 150 years of experience in working on exactly what it is you need to solve. What are the positive words that describe your business? And why do you appreciate your business? We all have good days and bad days. And we all have stuff. We all have baggage that we can talk about and we can whine about, and our good friends will listen for a while. But what is it that keeps you going day in and day out? What gets you out of bed, what takes you to the office, what calls on the customer, that sees the obstacles and tackles the obstacles? What are the things that you're grateful for at work? You know, maybe it's the way the office is set up. Maybe it's, you know, it's going to be the people. I know it's going to be the people because I've been doing this long enough to know that businesses are made up of people. But what is it you like about those people? What is it you appreciate about them? So here's what's going to happen next. I don't really expect you to come up with your simple message, your simplified message. I really want to do that in Nashville, take some stabs at it, because I'm going to go over that survey again, and that's going to ask you to do exactly this. It's going to ask you to answer the question, why should I do business with you? So in Nashville, when we get together again, it's going to be so much fun. We're going to create a short, simple message about your business that's true, that's believable, that solves problems and engages conversation. You will then rehearse that with each other. We'll pair off in twos, and I'll be in the room as well, and we'll help to rehearse communicating that message before you go onto the floor and in the booth. And here's where it's going to get a little scary, because I'm going to ask you to use that simplified message when people walk into your booth, when you're having a beer with them, because you're putting too much time, energy, and money into getting to Nashville without also doing the work. Yes, it's great to schmooze and get together with old friends, but I want you to use this time to practice, whether it's at dinner, whether it's at the booth, whether it's on the floor. When somebody asks, how is your business? You're going to use your simplified message. And it's going to take a little while to get used to it, but that's why we're going to practice in our time in Nashville as well. And then you'll be prepared with what to say when customers ask you, after you say your simplified message, well, how do you do that? And that then leads you into this. So take a stab at it before the 5th of April, because this is also homework. What differentiates your company from the competition? What is it that makes you different? Use all the things that we've already talked about to practice that. What's your sweet spot? We're the most trustworthy. We have the most integrity. We have the most experience. We are going to hold your hand every step of the way. Something. What is the sweet spot? We have the most locations. Something. And what would you say to an attendee wondering why they should come to your booth? Because again, you all know this. You're in a really competitive environment. So why should I get labels from you? Name 2 or 3 things that your company is either introducing or focused on in the next 18 months. This becomes your follow-up. So why should I get labels from you? Well, let me tell you, because right now, we have the very best quality of anybody within the industry, and over the next 12 to 18 months, we're going to stay ahead of all of our competition because we're getting new label presses that are going to improve our quality by another 25%. Something like that. You see how it flows from here's who we are now, this is why you want to talk to us about labels, and here's what we're doing in the future. Because why should you come to me for labels? This is why. As I said, this is going to be available to you at psda.org/exhibitor survey. So practice on that. Then, after Nashville, we're going to get together on a similar webinar like this one, probably the end of April, beginning of May. We're going to follow up after the show because I don't want to leave you with just these 2 things. I want to follow up with you because habits do take time to change. Let's get together. Let's have a more interactive webinar and talk about how your experience went with your brand statement in Nashville. Did you use it? What were the problems with it? Where did you stumble? And then we'll refine those as necessary. And then the next place that I want to take you is to learn ways to incorporate your brand message across all departments of your business. So it's not just you when you go to things like peer-to-peer. I want you to be able to talk, as Hyland Computer Forms did, to their production department, to their sales department. How are you salespeople, making it easy to do business with us? How are you CSRs making it easy to do business with us? Everything goes through that filter, and I want to give you those steps as to how to do that as well. So thank you. We finished a little bit early. I don't know if there's any questions out there that you have, any concerns, any comments, any refining that you want to take into Nashville. Let's hear those now. And yes, do your homework. So I thank you for being on the call. And Sally, I'm going to turn it back over to you and see if there's any questions and see what it is you'd like to do next. No? Is anybody there?
It looks like you're not all alone, Bruce. I'm not sure what happened to Sally. This is Barbara O'Connor.
Barbara, I just had this thought of, oh man, maybe you've been talking
to no one. So I'm just looking at the question box, and it looks like there's a question from Jim Kirsten. Can you make the slides available to us so we can dig into them some more? And the answer is yes, and we'll also have the recording available, Jim. So we'll have the slides themselves and the audio recording. And we'll send that out with a link to that survey that Bruce mentioned after this call. And it looks like that's the only question that we have.
I don't know whether that's good or bad.
Well, I think you gave people a lot to think about. So again, thank you guys all for joining us today. We really appreciate your time, and hopefully you found this content valuable and certainly thought-provoking and good things to think about, particularly as we lead into Nashville. And then the next step, as Bruce mentioned, is that face-to-face training that's going to take place on that Monday, April 11th, during the P2P Solutions Summit. So we'll share the room and the specific information on that shortly, but hopefully you all make plans to be there and we can dive into this in person, which I think will be really valuable. Anything else from you, Bruce, before we adjourn?
No, thank you. I'm looking forward to seeing you in a couple of weeks.
All right. Thank you so much. Thanks, everyone. And we will end the webinar. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Hello?